welcome to the Self-Care series, Nourishing the Mind, Body, and Soul series. Today, we hope that participants will come away with a little bit of knowledge. We hope that you can understand what nutrition is, gain an increased awareness of how important nutrition is and how it relates to our own self-care, understand the importance of nutrition to our overall health, and learn some tools and strategies to help you make informed, healthy food choices. I'd like to start off with a water challenge at the beginning of our workshop. So if you can get yourself a large glass of water, and the goal throughout this workshop today, while you're listening, is to sip on the water and have it finished by the end of our workshop. We hope to help you raise awareness of how much water you're actually drinking throughout the day. We begin talking about water because it's one of the most important nutrients that our body needs, and many of us unfortunately do not consume enough water. Your body is actually about 70% water, and it's very important because it does many things in our body. It helps lubricate our joints, it forms saliva, keeps our mucous membranes moist, helps to flush out toxins and body waste through urine and our kidneys. It helps regulate our body temperature, and it's needed by the brain to transport hormones and neurotransmitters. So it has some pretty important roles. And when we don't consume enough water, dehydration is what happens to us. This can cause things such as constipation, poor kidney function, low energy, urinary tract infections. So the question is, how much water should we be drinking? This is a general formula to divide body weight in pounds by 2. Will give you the amount of ounces that you should be drinking throughout the day, roughly. So for example, someone who's 140 pounds, you divide that by 2, which equals 70 ounces per day. 70 ounces per day is roughly just over 2 liters, and 2 liters is roughly 8.5 cups. So, you know, you've heard the phrase 8 to 10 cups of water per day. Another way to know if you may be drinking enough water is to take a look at your urine. If you take a look at this chart, these different vials have different colors in them. On the left-hand side is a very light colored liquid. It's almost clear, and this is a sign that this person is hydrated. And as you go up to the right, you can see the increase in colors, yellow to orange, and orange kind of reddy at the end. So you can take a look, and if you want to be close to the 3 vials on the left will be, you know, adequate and show you that you do seem to be consuming enough water. So another interesting thing to note is actually when we do feel thirsty, this is the body's way of telling us to drink more water, and we may already be past the point of needing to be hydrated when we feel thirsty. Another important thing is that often when we're thirsty, we think that we're hungry and grab for something quick, and it's usually something processed and filled with sugar. So try and have it when you feel like you're hungry, try and have a glass of water or a sip of water and see if it sort of curbs that hunger. Another important thing is that food is another way to make sure you're staying hydrated. You can get a lot of water content from food, and it doesn't just have to be consumed through water or other liquids. A nice morning ritual to try is before you have anything else, as soon as you get out of bed, before you have your coffee or before you grab something to eat, grab a glass of warm water and add a full lemon squeezed into it and drink it down before you have anything else. This is going to taste great, but it also helps with a few processes in our body. Digestion is the first one. So it's going to help boost digestion. It's going to help increase our stomach acid levels, which is what is needed to help break down our food and digest our food. Something to note is that as we age, our stomach acid levels actually decrease, and they are also affected by stress. So this is one natural way that we can help boost our digestion when as we age and when we may be affected by stress. Most of us are affected by high stress. It's also hydrating, as we know. It's going to help with regulating your appetite, but it's also good for skin and overall health. Helps with detoxification. In lemons, there's a component called limonene, which is a powerful antioxidant that helps with our liver detoxification process. So give it a try. What's nutrition? Before we go any further, it's important to talk about really what is nutrition and why are we talking about it today. So our body is really a complex system that has the ability to heal itself, but it's up to us to listen to our body and respond with proper nutrition and caring for it. Optimum nutrition is simply giving the body the most amount of nutrients so that it allows the body to be as healthy as it can and work as well as possible. So I'd like you to think the body as a set of engines. It's a good analogy. So some engines work together and some work independently, but in order to have it work properly, they need the right fuel. And this is just like our body. If the fuel is poor, then our engine won't work well or it'll sputter. And if it receives fuel that helps the engine run efficiently, then it's going to work much better. So our body receives nutrients in the form of many different vitamins, minerals, enzymes, water, fats, lipids, carbs. And these nutrients help sustain our life by providing us basic materials to carry out all of the functions in our body. So our body needs different nutrients in different amounts to run properly. One of the things that I hope that you'll walk away with today is thinking about how food makes you feel, and gaining an awareness of that, awareness of what you're eating, what it's doing to your body, where your food's coming from, and how it relates to how you're feeling. Have you ever had some fast food or something with a lot of sugar in it and realized that afterwards that didn't really make you feel that great after all, and it really reduces your energy and makes you feel tired? So most people don't relate what they're eating to how they're feeling afterwards. We've all had a turkey dinner and we all feel like having a nap on the couch afterwards. But guess what? That's actually the tryptophan in the turkey that signals you to feel like you want to have a nap or go for sleep. And have you realized that often when you're craving those things like cookies or ice cream, it's really hard to just stop at one, and then one turns into another? Or have you eaten something or actually had something to drink, maybe coffee, and it actually made you feel jittery and shaky afterwards? So we just want you to be aware of what food is doing to you and how it's making you feel. It really does have an impact on more than just, sustaining us and getting nutrients into our body. So let's talk about healthy eating is a form of self-care, and it is important for many things, as we'll talk about today. So one of those things is energy. Again, what we're putting into our body does have an impact on how we're feeling, or do we have enough energy to accomplish what we need throughout the day. And it's also, an effect on our mood and our emotional states. Healthy eating is also important for vitamin and mineral absorption. And healthy eating is also a form of self-care because it does have an impact and can help us lower the risk of diseases such as heart disease and diabetes. So let's talk about the basics of and key elements of nutrition that will give us a foundation in how we make those choices throughout the day of what we're going to eat, and other healthy choices. So talking about, what food should we be buying, where to buy it, helping us with meal planning and some ideas on how to prepare things. There is so much information available, out there at the click of our fingers, and having some foundational knowledge will help you make some good decisions. So let's start talking about nutrients and what are they. There are two types of nutrients. There are macronutrients and micronutrients. And macronutrients are those, just like it sounds, macro. These are nutrients that our body needs in larger amounts. And these are things like protein, fat, carbohydrates, and water. Micronutrients are those nutrients that our body doesn't need as much of and we need smaller amounts. And these are things like vitamins and minerals. Protein is the first macronutrient that we're going to talk about, and it is important for many different functions in our body, so it's important to consume enough protein. It's essential for growth and development. It helps our body with energy, and it's needed for the production of things like antibodies, hormones, enzymes, muscles, bones, and tissues. It's important that our body does make some protein, but we also need to obtain protein from the diet. So if you are feeling tired and lethargic, it may mean that you may not be getting enough protein. And if you're not getting enough protein, this can lead to things like weight loss, muscle atrophy, and fatigue. If you're getting too much protein, also, it's one thing to note is that it may likely mean that you're getting too much protein and perhaps not enough nutrients in other like vegetables and grains. So it's important to have a balance, but also to consume enough throughout the day. There are two types of sources of protein. One is a complete protein, and these are meat, dairy, fish. These are animal-based proteins, eggs. Non-animal-based proteins are things like quinoa, soy, hemp, and chia seeds. Incomplete proteins, which means you don't get your full complement of amino acids, meaning you don't get enough of the different types of protein. So you do need to combine complete proteins with incomplete proteins to make sure your body's getting all of the essential amino acids, is what they are called. We do have a tip sheet that will go out that talks about some of the options and choice making that you need to have an understanding of when you are a vegetarian or a vegan. Carbohydrates are another macronutrient, and they are actually the body's most preferred and usable source of energy. They are also a source of vitamins and minerals. They provide fiber, which is very important for our digestion, and feeds the good bacteria, which are the good bugs in our gut. And there are two types of carbohydrates. One is simple carbs, and the other is complex carbs. And the difference between simple and complex carbohydrates is basically based on their chemical structure and how quickly they get digested and absorbed in our body. So they're going to be important actually for balancing our blood sugar, which is an important role in our body. So those simple carbohydrates, they're things like white rice, white flour, refined sugar, juice. All of those refined things are very much not going to keep you full, and they're not going to keep you energized. They're actually going to make you feel lethargic and less full, which means that it's going to cause you probably to have cravings for more of these foods. So these foods basically cause a dramatic spike in your blood sugar, and what goes up must come down. So your blood sugar goes up and then it comes right back down. And when your blood sugar goes down, this causes cravings in your body, and it makes you feel like you want to eat more. So the opposite is true for things like complex carbohydrates, which are very rich in fiber, so they keep us full longer. They help keep our blood sugar balanced. And some of these examples are brown rice, things like whole wheat flour, fruits, vegetables, quinoa, and beans. So I mentioned blood sugar and why it's important. Blood sugar balance is important because our blood sugar has an effect on our body. If we have blood sugar problems, then this can cause hypoglycemia, which is low blood sugar, metabolic syndrome, which is prediabetes, or we call it also insulin resistance. Diabetes is obviously a challenge with blood sugar. Mood issues can be impacted by blood sugar, things such as anxiety and depression. Inflammation can be caused by blood sugar imbalances. Atherosclerosis which is a buildup of fats and cholesterol and other substances in our artery walls, which can cause plaque. And blood sugar balance can also be a factor in obesity. So one of the tips that I like to tell people is that when you are eating, that you need to ensure that you are eating fiber, fat, and protein with every meal, which will help with balancing your blood sugar. So I mentioned fiber in the previous slide when I was talking about carbohydrates, and it's important to note because it's the fiber is something that the body can't digest, so it will helps us regulate the body's use of sugar, and it keeps us full, and it keeps our blood sugar stable. Fiber also helps with elimination and removal of toxins from our bodies. There are two sources of fiber, soluble and insoluble fiber. So soluble fiber is found in fruits and vegetables. It dissolves in water and it forms a sort of a liquidy gel. And this is important because this type of fiber can help with softening our stools. So when we're constipated and our bowel movements are hard or infrequent, this type of fiber is going to help. Insoluble fiber is found in cereals or whole grains, and it actually absorbs liquid and adds bulk to our stools. So if you're having challenges with diarrhea or loose stools, this is something that is going to be helpful. And just to note, in our tip sheet, we do have a visual and some information on what a normal bowel movement looks like. So you might want to refer to that. So fat. Fats have gotten a bad rap for a while, but they're actually important for many key functions in our body, and they are important to consume. So fats are important for energy. They are essential, and we need them for absorbing fat-soluble vitamins, whether we're taking supplements or consuming those vitamins in our food. Without them, we can't absorb them, and so basically they're no good if we don't have fat. Fat helps form the lining of every cell in our body, and important specifically in the brain. Fat provides insulation, it helps regulate our temperature, and it's needed to make hormones. Fat, importantly, also helps slow the release of glucose in our food and is important, again, for blood sugar balance. Some of the good fats that we need are things you've probably heard of, like omega-3s and omega-6s, can help with memory and reducing inflammation. There are good sources of fat, oils such as olive oil, coconut oil, flax oil, hemp, avocado oil, and avocado, the actual fruit. Fish has good sources of fat. Hemp, olives, nuts and seeds, things like walnuts and pumpkin seeds are all great sources of fats. Poor choices of fat are things like hydrogenated oils like margarine, vegetable oil, shortening, and things like that. And the reason they're poor choices is because they're hydrogenated and they're processed with heat and chemicals, and this changes their consistency and changes the functions in our body. So, obviously fat gets a bad rap, and there are issues that can result in intake of too much fat. So if we eat too much fat, it's going to result in our body storing fat, and it also can cause a buildup in our circulatory system and can affect the organs in our body. On the other side, too little fat can result in decreased energy, can lead to things like depression, and they've done some studies that it may lead to aggression as well. So when we're thinking about fats, balance is really the key, and it's choosing the right type of fat. Poor fat, bad fats that are going to cause inflammation in our body can cause damage to our liver, kidney, and our circulatory system. And some of those bad fats are things like margarine, or those bottles at the grocery store, or those clear plastic bottles that have those oils in it. So I would say steer clear of those if you can. These are commercially processed, they can be heated, they can be chemically processed, and these are going to cause free radical damage in our body. There's lots of different ways that they process these oils. And it's quite fascinating actually, but in choosing oils, it's best to choose, when you're cooking and high heat, it's best to choose oils that have a high smoke point. So these are things like ghee, coconut, and avocado oil. Recommend low heat or no heat cooking, so to use oils such as flaxseed, walnut oil, olive oils. Just if a general rule to follow is that you can try, and when you're at the grocery store, look for unrefined, cold pressed, which means they're not heated, they're not damaged, and organic oils whenever possible. Micronutrients are vitamins and minerals that are essential to our body and are needed in smaller amounts than macronutrients. In terms of vitamins, there are two types of vitamins: fat-soluble vitamins, which are vitamins A, D, E, and K, and there are water-soluble vitamins, which are the B vitamins and vitamin C. So fat-soluble vitamins are stored in our body, and it's unlikely that we're going to consume too much through our diet, but we can supplement too much of these vitamins. So it's important to speak to your doctor if you are taking some of these supplements, to have your blood work checked. And it's important to also note that, again, I mentioned before that these fat-soluble vitamins should be taken with fats or oils in order to be absorbed and therefore used by the body. Water-soluble vitamins are not stored in your body, and your body basically uses what it needs and then will leave in your urine. And this means that you need to keep consuming these through your diet or supplementation to have enough of these micronutrients. One thing to note about vitamin D is it's important for immunity, and approximately 40 to 75% of us are deficient in vitamin D. And vitamin D is the sunshine vitamin, and it's very important actually for absorption of calcium into our bones. But because we live in North America, we don't get enough sunshine throughout the winter months. So it's advisable to supplement, fall and through the winter to make sure you're getting enough of vitamin D. Minerals are also micronutrients, and these are calcium, magnesium, iron, and zinc. So something important to talk about when we're talking about our overall health and does relate to our self-care, and I think you should be aware of, is the barrel effect. And basically our body is like a rain barrel, and that it has a certain capacity to take on the effects of things like our diet, emotional and mental stress, those environmental and chemical exposures that we have daily, and any poor daily health habits are affecting this barrel. So if you can liken it to all of these things keep adding water to our barrel, and if we're getting exposed to all of these factors continuously, it's going to increase the water level. And sometimes it can just be it could just be something little that overflows our barrel. So think of that as our general overall health. It's not usually just one of these things that are going to impact our barrel, but it could be a combination of a lot of these things. So it's important to think about, we're thinking about our overall health, what's contributing to our barrel overflowing. Is it our increased screen time with our tablets and our phones and whatnot? Is it the chemicals in our cleaning and our body products? Is it our poor daily habits? Maybe we're not getting enough exercise, we're not getting connected to nature, and we're stressed and we're overtired, or we're not sleeping well. So all of these factors can impact. And so what happens when our barrel overflows? Sometimes, as I said, it's just that little thing that's going to overflow it, but we may see things that are, we appear to think that they come out of nowhere, but we might see things like, more tiredness, fatigue, maybe more feeling overwhelmed, problem with sleep, insomnia, something common is to suddenly see, food insensitivities or skin rashes or issues that just appear to come out. You may suddenly be really extra aware of smells and perfumes. You might be extra aware of or affected by lights or sounds or certain chemicals. So this is just all contributing to our barrel, and we want to try and keep our barrel from overflowing. One of the components of food and nutrition is called mindful eating, and it's something that we don't always think about, but it is an important component of nutrition and also self-care. So it's really about trying to be present when you're eating and be grateful for the food that is given to you and that you are consuming and nourishing your body. Eating with others is also a really nice practice to do because it's such a social practice. We don't always do it. Remember, when we were growing up, we sat at home. There was no tablets. There was no, cell phones. We sat at home and we talked to our family. It's really nice to try and get back to that and make time for that as a family or whoever you live with, to sit down and enjoy a meal together. It really makes a difference. Taking the time to sit down and chew your food and take a little bit of time out from your day is really helpful. It's so easy for us to just see food as we feel hungry, we eat it, and then we go back to work. But really enjoying tasting the flavors and the textures of our food is really going to change your experience in your meals. When we eat on the go, we don't chew our food. And when we eat under stress, we probably don't chew our food either. And it just means that our digestive system isn't working as well as it can. We know that if we do chew our food properly, the food travels down our digestive system, goes to our stomach. And when our food gets to our stomach, we have digestive enzymes and stomach acid that is the sole purpose is to break down this food. So if we're making our digestive system work harder because we're not chewing our food properly, it's going to slow down the digestion. It could lead to bloating. It could lead to many, gas and whatnot because our food's sitting there longer than it needs to. So it's really important to set up your environment and take the time to chew your food and enjoy the food that you're consuming. I like to just highlight that this is the new Canada Food Guide. It came out a couple of years ago, and I really like the fact that first off, they recommend that you drink water as your choice of beverage with your meal. But look at all the vegetables. Half the plate is vegetables and fruit, which is wonderful. And then a quarter of the plate is protein, and whole grains is the other quarter. So this is a really stark contrast from what it used to look like. But I think they, Food Canada has really done a good job. So when we're talking about food, like what is real food and what's not so real food? And the definition, whole food is really any food that is unprocessed or unrefined, or it's in its original or whole state. And this in this state contains, hundreds of health promoting substances. So things like broccoli, cauliflower, you don't need a label on that. You know what it is. It's one ingredient. It's what it is. You can see it. And another, something to think about is, would your great-great-grandparent recognize this as food? Yes, they would recognize a broccoli or a cauliflower, but they probably wouldn't recognize a lot of the food that's on the shelves these days. So processed food, on the other hand, is something that has a food that has had a series of mechanical or chemical operations performed on it to change it or preserve it. And those are foods that typically come in a box or a bag and contain more than one item on the list of ingredients. So not saying you can't have processed food or you shouldn't have processed food, but being aware of the process that the food has gone through to get to you. Some foods are minimally processed, and other foods have been processed so much that you really can't recognize or you don't even understand what the ingredients are. So it's something to take note of when you're going to the store. Mental health and nutrition, which also plays into self-care. There's more and more research that our food does play a role in our moods and our mental states. So choosing food that is minimally processed is really important, and it will help helps your diet ensure that it has nutrients in it, as well as being anti-inflammatory, which is also going to help your mood and your energy levels as well. You may or may not have heard the term adaptogens. Adaptogens are substances that can help our body adapt to stress, and they can also have an impact on our mood and our sleep. So there's a lot of different adaptogens out there that you may want to investigate. Ashwagandha is one of them. There's lots of different mushrooms that are adaptogens. There's lots of powders and things that you can see nowadays that you can add to your morning tea or your morning coffee or whatnot, or into your smoothies. So diets rich in antioxidants, vitamins, minerals, fiber, and healthy fats, probiotics have all been linked to better mental health and well-being. And so there's lots of research showing that nutrition can support our mental health. And we know that food alone can't treat these conditions, but they can certainly have, our food choices can have an impact on our mental states and impact things like anxiety and depression. Sugar. Okay, sugar is highly inflammatory, and it's going to impact our body, make our body inflamed. And when consuming sugar, it has many detrimental effects on our body. We know that even a small amount of sugar can decrease our immune system for a few hours. And when we consume sugar that is refined or processed, then there's no benefit. It's been stripped of the vitamins and minerals and really gives you no benefit. And new research is showing that it can also trigger cancer cell growth and can help cancer grow more quickly. So digestion is one of the most important body functions, and we could do a whole workshop on it, but I'll try and keep it short. The basics are, digestion is the process in which our body breaks down food and absorbs nutrients and absorbed through our bloodstream and travels to our cells to feed the body and give us energy. So we talked about chewing is the first component. It helps that digestive process. It helps, accompanied with the enzymes and hydrochloric acid in our stomach, that helps things move through our small intestine and through our blood, goes to our cells and our organs and provides a source of energy. So this process can go too fast, and it can also go too slow. And if it goes too fast when we consume stimulants, things like coffee, but the food that we consume moves too fast through our stomach and our intestines, and unfortunately the nutrients that we're consuming in the food are not being absorbed and used. So that's why we recommend to either drink your coffee an hour or an hour before or an hour after your meal. It's important to stop and think about how certain foods are making you feel when you're eating them, and it should be a good indication to you of how well your body's actually digesting these foods. So if you're feeling full or bloated or constipated or have loose stools, the culprit's probably something going on with your digestion. And it can be, as I said, it can be things like caffeine or stimulants. It can be poor chewing. It can be some intolerances to certain foods like dairy and gluten and wheat. So it's really important to take note of how you're feeling after eating certain foods, and you might want to make some changes, and it might help your digestive process. An important part of talking about food and saving time is we like to suggest some meal planning and preparation. Even a little time on the weekend can save you a lot of time during the week. and it can also save you from making poor food choices. So here are some ideas that you might want to use. Chop vegetables and store them in glass containers in your fridge with water, and so it's easy for you to see and easy for you to use throughout the week. You don't have to spend time cutting up vegetables, they're already there. Cook things like quinoa or rice ahead of time so that you've got them. You can just throw them into a bowl. Bowls are really great with and easy and time saving as well. You can just throw some quinoa, some grilled veggies, a whole bunch of things into and make your own quinoa or rice bowl. And it's a really great thing that you can do with your family. You can actually set everything out on the table and everybody can make their own bowls and with different ingredients. Another is to grill or bake veggies, on Sundays or the weekend and have them ready to use throughout the week. Just heat them up or add them to your salads. You can also use protein cook protein to use in your recipes throughout the week. Also make some sauces and dips to have on hand. And if you had all of those ahead of time, look at how easy it would be to actually make a bowl for dinner. Food labels, and those are confusing, aren't they? They're also misleading, and they are actually more focused on selling their product than actually on your health. So it's really important to understand what you're buying and not just take what the label's saying as a word. There's a term called health washing, which is basically companies try to position themselves as being healthy, but they may be contributing to your poor health. So when we're looking at ingredients at the grocery store, one thing to note is that the ingredients are listed in order of the highest quantity. So if you see sugar as the first ingredient, you know that product, if there's sugar as the first ingredient, then there's going to be a lot of sugar compared to everything else in that product. Be aware of real versus processed foods. We talked about whole foods and processed foods. Those whole foods and real foods are things that don't need labels actually. And important to think about is if you know that there's certain ingredients that you don't agree with or your body doesn't like, things like dairy or gluten, you need to look for them on the label and know all of the names that they're called. So for sugar, you can have fructose, glucose, sucrose. Those are all names for sugar. So you need to be aware of actually what's in your product. And if you don't know what an ingredient is, then by all means, please take a look at it. One thing you might have questions about is, what's the difference between organic and non-organic? You certainly hear a lot in the news today and a lot of people talking about this, but do you really what really is the difference? So this is actually a list through the Environmental Working Group. They come out with a Dirty Dozen and a Clean 15 list every year. And basically, this is a list of all of they've tested this. These are the products that have the most amount of pesticides residue on them. So number one is strawberries. Actually they did some testing and over 90% of strawberries, spinach, and kale, and those samples contain residues of not one, but 2 or more pesticides. So we know that organic can be expensive, and it's not easy to shop and to buy everything organic. So this list helps you make choices. I would say that if you're going to buy anything organic, if you can afford to buy something organic, it would be one of these items on the list or several of these items on the list. And the Clean 15 is basically, these are the products with the least amount and the lowest concentration of pesticides of non-organic produce or fruit. So these are the products that I would say if you're going to the grocery store, then you don't have to buy organic if you don't want to, basically. So we talked about reading the labels, but also there are some other tips for when you're shopping. The The first one being buy the most amount of your food around the perimeter of the grocery store. And these are, as you know, these are where the fruits, the vegetables, the meats, and all the whole foods are located. And the inner aisles contain all of the processed food. So as much as you can, do the bulk of your shopping around the perimeter of the grocery store. And also, as we said, read the labels, know what you're buying. Avoid the sugar as your top ingredient. And because, again, sugar is very highly inflammatory and it decreases the immune system and also has an impact on attention and hyperactivity. And next is avoid artificial dye. They have been linked to behavior problems in children and can cause hypersensitivity. And the other thing is that they are found in thousands of food, and a lot of these dyes are derived from petroleum. Buying local and in season when possible, which is just nice to do when you have lots of farmers markets around and your food is not traveling from, you know, many countries away to get here, and it's going to be as fresh, and you're also going to be supporting local farmers. And again, buy organic when possible, but as we talked about, you don't have to buy everything organic if you're not able to. It's very hard to buy all organic, and you can't always get everything. So, you know, taking the Dirty Dozen list to the grocery store, what I do is I take a picture and I have it on my phone that I refer to it when I'm at the grocery store. So let's talk about stocking your pantry. It's a really great tip to have all of these items or some of these items on hand in your pantry, and you'll be amazed at how quick and nutritious and easy it is to make some dishes. So having things on hand like nuts and seeds, oils and fats, nuts, raw, you know, things like raw almonds, cashews, walnuts, pecans, seeds like hemp, chia, pumpkin, sunflower, sesame, flax seeds, nuts and butters. There's a lot of them out there, you know, cashew, almond butter, coconut butter, lots of different flours. There's lots of milks, dairy alternative milks as well that you can keep in your cupboard. Broths are really great to put together meals. Herbs and spices, and dried beans and legumes, rice, quinoa, and canned tomatoes. It's amazing what you can put together with those items. And it's going to stop you from reaching for processed food if you have them on hand already. When we're on the go and we're busy, it's easy to reach for some unhealthy options, but if we're ready and prepared ahead of time, we can just have these healthy snacks ready to go. So things like cut up fruit and vegetables, plus some dip, homemade protein balls or bars are really easy to make. You can make your own combination of nuts and seeds, coconut and dried fruit with maybe a little bit of dark chocolate in there. You can have this with you on the go. You can leave it as in a container in your car when you're snacking, when you're hungry, when you're on the go. I love avocados on rice crackers, almond butter and celery sticks, organic nacho chips and salsa. You can have yogurt with fruit and nuts. You can make smoothies, and smoothies are also a great way to hide certain nutrients from your kids or your spouses. Some time-saving ideas. There's a lot of different recipes out there. One-pot meals, throwing everything in, and it's, you know, it's easy to do. Instapot, I love my Instapot. Sheet pan meals is throwing usually some meat and some vegetables on a sheet pan and having it all cooked together. Those are easy. Again, food prep for the week, get everything ready on the weekend so you can have those easy choices throughout the week. Food delivery and meal kits, there's a lot of new options that are out there. Meal kits like HelloFresh. I get Mama Earth Organics in Toronto. It's a great organic delivery. It has fruits and vegetables. It has pantry items now. It's got fridge items and freezer items and already made goods. It's really great. I love it. I'm plugging it here, but it's something that really saves time and helps you make meals. And some easy breakfast ideas is overnight chia seed pudding. You can put so many different things in that. Any type of milk with chia seeds or yogurt. You can add fruit, nuts, seeds. Same idea as having a yogurt parfait in mason jars. You can do them the night before, take them on the go. I like to make egg cups with vegetables and put them all in a muffin tin and bake it and just keep it in the fridge and warm it up, or you can keep them in the freezer as well. Just to end off with a little bit of review and check in. Did you drink all of your water? I hope you did. It's a good reminder to to have some water by your side throughout the day, and it's going to help you stay hydrated. Eat the rainbow of fruits and vegetables. I love this picture on the side of all the different varieties of fruits and vegetables, and there really is a lot to choose from. So try and keep your plate filled with fruits and vegetables. Meal planning, we talked about, can really save you time and prevent you from making poor food choices. Consuming enough fiber, fat, and protein in every meal is going to help you keep your blood sugar balanced, and we talked about the benefits of that and the importance of that, as well as eating enough protein, carbs, and fats for your body's needs. We know what happens if we're not getting enough of those as well. And I guess most of all, we talked about being aware of what you're eating and how your body feels, and that awareness and being mindful in your eating. But listen to your body. What is it telling you? We don't always correlate what goes into our body and how we're feeling, whether we're tired or we're anxious or our digestion is not working well. But if one thing you can take from this, from this today, is that be aware of what your body is telling you after you've eaten and whether something is agreeing with you or not. These are some of the nutrition and wellness resources that I like. These are some websites. Dr. Mark Hyman, Megan Telpner is a Toronto-based nutritionist and blogger. She's got cookbooks and courses. She's great. Her husband is Josh Gatellis. He's also a nutritionist. He's a functional nutritionist. Mind Body Green. They have some great information on their website. Joy McCarthy is another Toronto-based holistic nutritionist. She's got cookbooks and courses and workshops as well. Oh She Glows is a vegan and plant-based recipe cookbook as well. So hopefully those are some good resources that will get you started. So we do welcome your feedback and hope that you can let us know how you felt about this workshop today, whether it was helpful, whether you learned. And also, if you like this event, we also have so many other events that we have at Surrey Place. So please take a look at our wellness events on our website. And as this session is recorded, there are also other sessions that are pre-recorded as well. So please take a look.